Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the MN Viking Zombie YouTube and Twitch channel. I'm one of your guests on here. This is not my channel, but my name is Kyle Smith, your host and creator for this show. Right here, Mr. Adam Carlson. How are you, sir?
Not too bad. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but Kyle and I wanted to try to get back into the swing of things a little bit, and the menu just came out on HBO Max, so we figured why not?
Yeah, I hope you guys' holiday was great. Adam, I hope yours was. I know we've talked on our other podcasts and stuff, but not intentional for us to get away from these. We weren't taking a break. For me, the holidays just kind of take over and was very busy, a lot of ups and downs during that time. But honestly, too, I told Adam before we started, there haven't been a lot of good movies out in any genre. So when he suggested this, I'd seen it already. I was very happy. And
many of the newer horror releases were like October releases, so now is kind of quieter time for that.
Yeah, I think the last one we did was the
we need a good horror / Valentine's Day movie to come out next.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of that one that Vince Vaughn was in recently. It was sort of in that kind of wheelhouse. We did that. Didn't we do that on this channel?
Yeah, Freaky. That was pretty good.
Freaky wasn't bad. It was better than I expected. You guys go check that out in the archives. But today we're going to review The Menu. Came out in 2022, not too long ago. So frequently that it's still in some theaters around here. When I Googled it tonight, it gave me show times, which is kind of cool, kind of wild that we can stream it now at the same time. I know Halloween Ends was big on that. Jamie Lee Curtis said, I don't care where you watch it, I just want you to see it, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
For an older, more iconic figure to be like embracing that. But nonetheless, you can see this in theaters in some cities, or you can stream it now. But yeah, let's dive into it. Came out last year. Wouldn't necessarily call this a horror film at its
core. It was not what I was expecting whatsoever.
Thriller is probably what I would put under there. There's a lot of suspense. I'm trying to compare it to something we've done on the channel before. I know you and I have seen this film. I don't think we reviewed it, but Hush was a really good movie.
Yeah.
And it had a slow burn and a slow build. It kind of reminded me of that as far as the sequence of events and the timing. Because once things drop in this movie, it really gets intense and it kind of stays at that level. But it takes a minute to get there. But yeah, overall, if you're looking for a slasher, which we love on this channel, obviously you can see the background. This isn't your traditional slasher. Or
no.
Like for my taste, I like The Conjuring and the spiritual demonic stuff. This is nowhere near that. This is real life, and there's a lot of mind games in this film.
Personally, I don't know. I saw that it was available. It was something that interested me from some of the previews, but yeah, you got to be patient with this movie, and you've also got to try to develop some sort of attachment to the main character to make this work.
That's a good point. I know for most of the movies we do on this channel, actually every one that we've reviewed, we would say at the end, is this a rewatchable? And there's kind of three levels. There's a, no, this movie is pretty terrible, I'd never watch it again. Yeah, if people are over and they said, have you seen it? Maybe I would. And then there's some that are like, yes, I will definitely watch this again. For me, this was almost a must rewatch because I missed some little things in the beginning. And I won't say that I wasn't paying attention because I did go to the theater for the first one. But I told Adam,
bad, but I have no interest whatsoever in watching this again.
Oh, okay. We'll have different opinions on the movie. That's good. I was on my Peloton. I was exercising, trying to take it all in, but I was taking notes this time, mainly because I didn't want to come into this.
Well, I was sitting on my couch eating cinnamon rolls, so we had very different ways of watching.
I was trying to be good today. I ate so much shit food, but man, I had a good time attempting to make a dent in the calories that I took in. But let's dive right into it. The main character, and you'll see him on the front, is the chef played by Ralph Fiennes.
That is not the main character of this movie.
Who's the main character for you?
What was the woman, the red-haired prostitute?
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Anna Taylor-Joy.
What is her? She said Margot, but her name really was Erin.
Right. Yeah, she was brought to this eating place out on an island for really fancy people that cost a lot of money. This rich guy, his girlfriend dumped him, so he needed someone to go to this event with. and he scooped up this prostitute and brought her out. And then from there, he is a obsessed foodie, and he knew that everybody on the island was going to be killed as part of the finale to the meal. So, I mean, he brought her there knowing she was going to die.
That line that Adam just said was brought at the almost the very end of the movie, and you could see the anger and the pain that comes out, which we would all feel that way if we knew we were being used like that. But to back up his point, in a very weird way, there were some points that this movie doesn't have any kind of sequence or anything related to the Saw franchise. But, in a lot of those movies, especially the second one, I loved Saw 2. It was probably my favorite one out of the series. You have all these different characters and they're related somehow. Now, I don't know that every one of these characters are related outside of to the chef, but I wrote down in my notes here that there are deplorable characters at pretty much every table. And outside of Margot, which we find out later is not her name, there's some pretty scumbag people at these things. But Adam was saying this is kind of an elitist island getaway for one of the world-renowned chefs. You're going to get an amazing experience, 6-course meal.
Yeah, I didn't really feel a whole lot of connection between each of the individual groups of diners.
Sure,
but I did get the feeling that each of them were there for a reason, because they did something not well to humanity.
Correct. Whether it be a personal attack on the chef that we were talking about, or
laundering money or whatever.
Frat guys laundering the money. You have a has-been movie star who's a narcissist. You have the old couple who is. They have something weird going on. They have a connection to Margot, but
the man that was cheating on his wife with Margot and he looked like his daughter.
Oh yeah, that's who I was referring to. The older couple. I forgot about that. Something weird, which is funny too. Like, there's what did I write in here? There's an unwavering steadiness in this movie from the antagonists. The chef has his employees there, and they are robots to a T, do everything that he asks, and it's like an assembly line. And you see as it progresses on, they are going to do what he says and what he says only. And what Adam's referring to, when they find out it's all, of these bad things, they know they've been seen or they know they've been exposed. I thought it was really hilarious. One of the funnier comedy points of the movie is they take tortillas and they print out pictures and they basically talk shit to their guests and saying, I know this thing about you, and I know this is going to trigger you in some way. And they give it to him right there on this printed tortilla to eat, which is hilarious. Just the thought of that alone made me laugh.
After they told them they weren't getting bread that day.
Yeah.
What a bunch of liars.
A lot of people in this movie outside of Margot, they've got issues. Everybody has issues, to say the least. But
one of my favorite actors in this movie was the sous chef, who was going around and taking care of everyone before each meal. And she was so worried about being replaced by Margot.
Oh, the Asian woman. Yeah.
Yeah, which makes absolutely no sense, because she knew she was going to die that night. And even if she was replaced, so what?
Right. Yeah, she's a very good supporting character in this movie. Like I said,
that was a major plot hole to me, was that she shouldn't have cared that he sent her to go get that barrel.
Oh yeah, she wanted the attention, much like Tyler, probably the most horrible person in there, which is pretty bad because, like you said, we had money launderers, we had adulterers, he had really snooty chef restaurant reviewers that had done this chef dirty there. But he's kind of a piece of crap. I just wrote down some notes about him: narcissistic, condescending a lot. And in the early beginnings of it, before they get to the island, he was a little charming and flirtatious.
This is the main character's date, right?
Yes. But at the end, I wrote absolute scumbag human. If you want somebody to root against in this movie.
Yeah, he calls her a child and tells her to be quiet and
snaps his fingers at her very condescendingly.
Oh, yeah.
It'll make you mad just for Margot in the movie. But
yeah, as you see the date unfold, you'll like him less and less.
Yeah, it was really weird seeing some, like, I've seen movies where you have characters like this who obsess over a thing. I've never seen
But
someone
she
in
was also
our.
kind of unlikable to me because she gets taken on this date and she gets given this really expensive food and she's like, I'm not eating it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And gives no reasoning. It's like he spent a lot of money taking her out on that date, and the chef, was explaining why all this food is so important. I mean, she was kind of not being cool there.
That's a good point.
If I take a girl out on a date and she's like orders food or comes out to eat with me and doesn't eat, I'm gonna be very disappointed.
I could see that side. Some little sprinkles have already been put to this point of that in the film where he's kind of being rude. Not even kind of, he's being rude. But like I was saying, I've seen people in movies and in real life obsess over things. I've never seen a character in my life obsess over food. And to the point where he epitomizes the definition of fangirling over another human being. He,
Oh
he
yeah.
craves the attention, much like your supporting character you're talking about, the sous chef. He craves the approval and the attention of the chef, and the chef wants nothing to do with him, which I loved. Saw right through it and kind of realized what he was. But yeah, his name is Tyler in the movie. He's a terrible person, very easy to root against. But to lay it out for you, like you said, there's a group of 12
So what
people.
made Ralph Fiennes' character like impervious to pain?
I guess
Is he like a super villain or something?
I guess just years in the kitchen from what I collected, and he just
You get
has
stabbed in the nuts with scissors. You're not gonna in the kitchen. That's not gonna help you.
that and at the end of the movie when he lights the fire. I mean, he just grabs hot coals out of.
And they stay lit in his hand. Just stupid.
It was kind of weird. I thought he was excellent for that role, though. He was a very good.
I wish the role itself, like the way it was written, was more realistic. I felt like this would be a much better book to read than it would be movie to watch.
I saw you say that on Facebook. That's a very good point. I would agree.
There's our sex bots.
There
on
we
YouTube.
go. Ooh, AI dating for all ages. Okay.
Now that's some scary stuff.
That is.
You can date Megan when she gets older.
Yeah, get your stuff together, YouTube. That's gross. Yeah, like we said, 12 people, they go to an island for a one-of-a-kind experience. They don't realize until pretty much halfway in the movie, one of the assistant chefs comes in. It's called The Mess, which I wrote a note down for that, which I thought was hilarious. One of the funnier parts of there's subtle humor in this movie if you really want it. He commits suicide. He is getting belittled by the main character, the chef, so badly, saying, "Oh, you're good, but you're never going to be great. You want my life, you can't have it." And then ultimately puts a gun in his mouth. And everyone at the tables all around are shocked, and they realize then and there, they're like, "Oh my God, this is not what we signed up for." And then they realize that they're trapped. And the events slowly get more dramatic to the point where these people are desperate. You can see the stress on their face. I think all the characters and the actors in this movie did a great job of depicting the slow.
I think the first instance of that was when he was talking about his drunk dad coming home to his mom.
Oh, it's uncomfortable.
That was when the real first feeling of uncomfortability came, and that was, I think, maybe 20, 25 minutes into the movie. So you better be patient if you want to see what's going to unfold here.
Yeah,
and you better start to really like Anna Taylor-Joy's character, because otherwise you're not going to really care when she goes and sneaks into the house that's off limits.
I really enjoyed, sometimes when we review horror movies, we've said before on this channel, I would have liked to have gotten a little bit more of a backstory on a character, because it just feels like a person was just cast to jump in to be slaughtered or something. But for this, I mean, you get to know details about pretty much every person at each table, and little hints about their life, good or bad. There's a great scene where Margot and the chef, they don't get along for most of this movie. And, doing the snooty thing, like you said, where I'm not going to eat, I'm not hungry. She sneaks to the bathroom to have a cigarette. And the chef comes in, and there's a heated tension in that bathroom where he's trying to figure out who she really is. And he gives her a hint there. He says, "You're not supposed to be here." And she takes it as, you're not the class of person that's allowed to be here. When really in reality, he's saying, this was meant for someone else. You literally shouldn't be here. Who are you? And she's just got that badass, I do what I want kind of attitude, not realizing that could ultimately be her fate that night. But as the series progresses, more events happen. These people are getting desperate. They're trying to plead their case with the chef, the sous chef. Please let me leave. I'll pay you. And they realize quickly they're not going anywhere. Then 2/3 of the way in the movie, they get brought outside. The men are allowed to have a head start, which I thought was hilarious. It's like, we're going to give you 45 seconds to try to get away. And the one guy just takes off.
Okay, here's another question for you, though. Why does it matter which side she's on if everyone was going to die anyway?
I feel like it was just the underlying part of
where she was standing.
Yeah, I feel like it was. Well, I do feel a sense of humility, and we see that at the end. We'll save that ending
because she wasn't going to be saved.
Right. She had to do. We'll do the spoilers here. Obviously, we do the spoilers for every movie. She convinces him that she should be let go, and she finally figures out she's not supposed to be there. But I really, it really drives home the point of the head chef just being in total control. He knows he's right, even though what he's doing is wrong. He knows that she's not supposed to be there. And for me, I think it was just that satisfaction of hearing another person tell him yet again, like, I'm right, giving him that validation, because he said, at the very end of the movie, I haven't wanted to cook for someone in years. But he's still...
And that's where she got the idea to say, hey, your food might be technically great, but there's no love in it.
Correct. And seeing that in the house, when she goes to sneak around at the end of the movie, close to the end of the movie, she sees a photo of him starting out on a grill at a burger joint back in the day. And she uses that to her advantage in the final scenes before eventually all of the characters are going to die. But more subtle humor to the point that I was making in the scene I was talking about, that the men are allowed to get a head start. The women are brought inside to talk to a female chef, have a cigarette, have wine. They all are not even trying to fight it. They're like, we're going to die here. So we're just going to talk about whatever. The men try to run away. A couple of them get pretty close to leaving. I thought the funniest part was the guy hid in the chicken coop where they get their eggs. And they open the door and hand him a treat. And they're like, congratulations, you were the very last one to get caught. Compliments of the house or whatever. It was pretty funny.
I felt for the guy that was getting in the rowboat and was like rowing away.
Yeah, he was close. But ultimately, yeah, everyone gets brought back. And that's kind of how it all comes to a climax at the end. There was a funny part, which I don't know that was necessarily needed, but it did provide kind of an extra jab at everyone. Margot gets within the house she's not supposed to enter that belongs to the chef. Towards the end of the movie, she finds a radio. She calls for help. The Coast Guard comes out. Come to find out, those guys are paid off. It's not really the Coast Guard at all. It's one of the chef's friends. So all of these people are pleading their case. They're stressed out. The Coast Guard guy comes in. They're like, please arrest him. He's trying to kill us, blah, blah, blah. And they have this one last glimmer of hope that they're going to get to leave. Guy pulls out a gun, points it at a candle, and it's a lighter, which I thought was funny, but I don't necessarily know if that was needed for the movie. Maybe a little extra flair, but it did show good desperation.
I was trying to figure out what the point behind this movie was. Is it more rich white man bad?
Yeah. I have no idea.
Whatever the point was they were trying to get across during this movie, I don't feel it was poignant enough to make that statement efficiently and understandably. I know we've talked in some movies about how a point is hammered home too much and it just feels unnecessary. This one, I wish they would have gone a little bit more into depth about what they were trying to convey with this, because I feel like horror movies and thriller movies can all have a really good message that doesn't have to be hammered home, but yet can get through to the audience. And this one I don't feel got through.
I love the way, of all the movies we've reviewed, dude, I think one of the best descriptions ever, what you just said, was for this movie. You're 100% right. I don't want to take your words and say them exactly again, but I don't know what the hell this movie's motivation was. I don't know. I don't know what the point was. I really liked the scenario. What I really enjoyed the most about this movie was the scenery. I think the
Yeah,
restaurant was exquisite. I loved the lighting in this movie. I think that had a lot to do with the mood and the tension. But you're right, man. I don't know what this movie was trying to tell us. I'm just glad that I knew ahead of time that it was a thriller and not a horror, because I would have been pissed.
because to be honest, I was kind of hoping that he was going to start poisoning people, and that's why he was mad that she wasn't eating.
It's a good point. That's a good point that they probably could have made the movie better with, honestly. Um, to Adam's point, if you do end up watching this film based off of what
They
we're
did kind of
saying,
hint at that when they were doing the tour with the aged meats.
that's a good point. I forgot about that.
There was no foreshadowing really in this movie at all. I mean,
Mhm.
other than the whole you shouldn't smoke because then you won't be able to taste the food.
Yeah, I like the hypocrisy there of like, we want to treat you to a good meal and a good time, so don't smoke. It's like, yeah, other than the fact you're going to murder us later. What's up, Cookie, my bro? Yeah, we were just talking about that on the Purple People podcast. We just wrapped
Right?
that up, and now we're doing the horror movie review. But as you can see, we're dressed and ready for that. Well, don't say we. Adam's wearing a Viking shirt. You just can't see it.
Oh, there's some cheers, some Twitch bits. I love it. Thanks, Cookie.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Thank you for tuning in. We're talking about, obviously, the movie The Menu from last year. It's still in theaters now, but yeah, we don't really know what the hell this movie was trying to say. It's really funny. I will say, too, what else I liked outside of the lighting and the scenery and the stage that they've set up and everything. Everything was super theatrical. We talked
It
about the
was
end.
all shot very well and
Mhm.
on great cameras, and the dining room itself was very beautiful, along with the kitchen, and the island setup itself was really nice too. I mean, there was so much to like about visually this movie.
It's so crazy to say too. Like you said, visually, my eyes loved the movie, but my brain didn't understand what the message was, and I was having a hard time figuring out how to say that. But you said it perfectly, man. Greatest description of a movie on this channel so far, in my opinion. I don't know what this movie wanted to do. It took a second watch for me to see some of the comedy. There is some good, very dry humor in this movie.
Oh yeah, I definitely laughed when the chair hit the window.
The guy taking off, and then I forget, some of the subtle things the guests do, and I
I
love
was
the
actually enjoying the
condescending
relationship between the star and his
assistant.
associate, his secretary
Yeah,
lady. I felt she was doing a real good job. That relationship right there, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of.
I liked at the end when they know they're gonna die. He's like, she's like, I've been stealing money from you forever. He's like, I know. She's like, I know you know. That was good. I also liked at the end because we don't like Tyler. I don't think anyone likes Tyler. I love that he wanted his attention. The chef gave him his 5 minutes of attention and just completely belittled him, Gordon Ramsay style, when he's making stuff in the kitchen. I love that so much. Thinking that he was on par and going to get the approval that he wanted from his hero, and he did not.
Did you like the way the movie was divided up into the different courses?
I did. That was one of the comedy points. Thank you for making me think about that. I did like that. I can appreciate when, like in Inglourious Bastards, you have Act 1, Act 2, all of these things. It makes me feel more like a play, or like sort of reading a book, throwing that homage out. But I really thought it was hilarious when they started putting in the little jabs.
You've been here
people.
12 times. Tell me one course from the last time you were here.
Just the rich people who don't care about your craft. You knew that guy wasn't going anywhere, and they chopped his finger off. But
I don't know about. I'm not smart when it comes to the wedding stuff. Is the left ring finger, is that like where your wedding ring is supposed to go?
Oh, I have a fun fact about that. I didn't know this until about 2 years ago. The reason why they choose your left finger. Do you know that? Your left wedding ring finger.
No, I know that was the finger they chose in this movie when he wouldn't make a decision. So
they're doing that because of his
it.
infidelity, I believe, with
Right.
Margot. But I've heard over the years this has either a vein or whatever that's connected to your heart. So that's why you put the ring there. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what I've heard over the years. I could be wrong, but that's what I've heard through the grapevine. But yeah, all in all, everyone dies, which is hilarious at the end that they're all dressed up as s'mores. I, that was really stupid to me. I liked his point that he made because the chef is very snooty and very proper, and he definitely is smarter than you. He comes off that way, and he makes fun of the idea of a s'more because he's like, it's filth, sugar water with something else with a industrial graham cracker. He's like, and we try to call it innocent. You know,
Oh
you see
yeah.
his passion for food, but I think the highlight of the movie for me, and obviously getting to see the main character Margot get away, is she kind of turns it around on him and unlocks, kind of using reverse psychology to get her way out of this. Is she sends the food back, which is a total insult to the chef. She says, I, like you said earlier, I realize that you do everything perfectly here, but you don't make your food with love. I would like something with love. I would like a cheeseburger, which triggers in his head back to his earlier days, which we saw a photo of.
Love isn't a real ingredient.
Yeah, it's not. But she gets him to make a good cheeseburger. And I love the subtleness. I didn't catch in the beginning. She says, I think my eyes were a little bit bigger than my stomach. Could I get the rest to go? And he lets her leave.
My grandma used to say that eyes bigger than the stomach thing.
Same.
So that kind of hit me a little bit, a special spot. But yeah, as a whole, I mean, I don't think I'd watch this movie again. I'm glad I watched it, but I don't really understand what it was trying to do. Still, I didn't pick my phone up throughout it. I did watch it, and I feel like the fact if I can watch a movie and not pick up my phone and want to be distracted or be entertained in today's movie climate, where you can distract yourself with almost anything. The fact I stayed watching the movie says a lot.
I'm with you there. I was intrigued when I went to the theater. The only reason that I watched it a second time was to have notes ready for this podcast that we're doing right now in this review. I would watch it again with other people a couple of years from now. I think I've had enough of this movie for the time being. I think you would agree. I think the actors are great in this movie. I think they do what they were told to do on paper well. I think it was shot beautifully, but the writing was very lackluster for me. And that will kill a movie.
Yeah, it felt like I don't know if this is based on a book or if like there's something missing in the screenplay.
Yep.
But yeah, it feels like there was something missing. There was an emotional feeling that should have been in here that was gone.
Yeah.
I felt like I should have felt a little bit more when she was on the boat eating the cheeseburger, floating to safety. But I didn't feel almost anything.
I didn't feel any empathy for the people dying, even at a
No.
base level. And it's so funny you said that. Yeah. There needs to be a little more quality control on these plots. And this is a great example of that. Great actors.
Yeah.
You have them shoot a
Will
great
Fiennes
movie.
is amazing.
Yeah. Like I said, you have the money to shoot a great film. You've got a good cast, but the writing in this definitely kind of tanked it for me, and it sounds like for you as well. If we're doing a rating, this is going to be one of my lowest ones. I watched it twice to get more information again because it had been months since I've seen it. But yeah, you pretty much nailed it for me, man. I don't want to take your thunder. I'm giving this a 4 out of 10. I'm not gonna be nice about it. It's not the worst horror movie I've ever seen. Not even the worst thriller by any mean, but
No.
it will leave you empty.
My cousin said that him and his wife were on the fence when they watched it, and I can see why they felt that way now.
Yeah.
Because you're glad you watched it, but you don't quite exactly know what you watched. I might recommend that people watch it if they just want to watch something to spend the time and get a little bit of shock value, because I felt like it was a little bit more shock value than any horror or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's definitely worse ways you could spend an afternoon or an evening.
Yeah, for it to be a thriller, there was a little bit of gore in there. There's some brutal stuff in this movie, but overall, yeah, I'm good with never having to see this again. I did my homework, but yeah, upon second review, it's a meh for me.
Yeah, it's a 6.5 for me. It's something I'm glad I watched it. I won't ever watch it again, probably. But it's not one I'll forget either within a short amount of time. But also, as always, keep an eye out for other movies that are recently released that you might want to have us review, and hit us up and let us know. Well, we're definitely going to try to do this a little more often, and we're going to try to watch for streaming services having newer horror movies and check out what's going on.
This is where you can do it too. You can comment on these videos, guys. You can like them. If you're on Twitch, all you got to do is send Adam a message.
Sure. Or on Twitter, same username.
Hit either one of us up here, and just not the biggest and most awesome movie to start the year on, but we are going to do this and get back in the swing of things. The Menu, not the worst film, not the best by any means, but we're glad to be doing more of the horror movie reviews. And like we said in the beginning, I'm speaking for Adam. This is his channel, so he will veto anything that I may put out here, but we're not sticking to just slasher traditional horror. If we can get that little ball and mix of a thriller.
No, slasher is my favorite. I enjoy watching a good slasher. But if there's a good thriller movie coming out that might have a little bit of horror elements to it, we'll take a look at that.
Absolutely. This wasn't a request or anything. I know Adam was just talking about it, but if you have one, like we said, shoot it to us. We can't guarantee we'll do it. We've had a suggestion before that was a little older that we didn't do, but we're open to suggestions, and we'll keep our eye out. Like Adam said, we're looking for more of the newer releases, especially the streaming stuff. Easy access to you, and we want to get on the trend of what's new and what's out there so we can put our 2 cents in too. But there's a good catalog of stuff on this channel that we've reviewed so far, and we're ready to do more. Especially
some of the bigger named ones, and we have touched on some smaller indie or foreign films as well, as far as horror goes, that we've found delightful. Some of them.
There were some of them I thoroughly enjoyed that I had no idea about. So
it's always nice to find a gem when you're looking for something fun. But we will be back. We'll be doing another one of these. Thanks for stopping in, checking us out. You can find the full catalog over on my YouTube channel. Otherwise, we'll be streaming these live over on my Twitch account, along with, I believe we still do the Purple People podcast there as well, right?
We do. The Purple People podcast, our Minnesota Viking podcast we just did before this one, here on Adam's YouTube, his Twitch, and our Purple People podcast YouTube channel as well.
Right, you can find the full catalog over on Purple People podcast YouTube. Otherwise, you can find it weekly wherever you find your podcasts. We're almost everywhere, so if you search for us, you will find us, the Purple People podcast. Thanks again for listening, and we'll hopefully be back again soon to talk about another horror movie. In the meantime, stay bloody, friends.